Hello ladies and gentlemen, Matt Redday here and welcome to another edition of my Who reviews. Now, I apologize for the lateness. I have been extremely busy the last couple of days, which is why I missed out of Doctor Who Arachnids in the UK. And anytime when I did actually get to watch the episode myself, and anytime I would have had to make this review video, I have been having a cold. Now, some of you are probably wondering, wait, Matthew, didn't you already do like a reaction video to Arachnids in the UK a couple of days ago? Yeah, I did, but I still have to stick with tradition, and in doing so, I had to talk about this episode in the proper way, and honestly, this was an easy review I had to make, because I could see the good stuff and the bad stuff whilst watching this episode. I knew exactly what I wanted to say, and I knew exactly what had to be said. It's pretty weird that of all the episodes this series has had, it's pretty weird that the one episode featuring giant spiders is the one episode I was the most looking forward to from beginning to end. I'm not kidding. Even though I myself have arachnophobia, anytime I see a spider I immediately freeze. I was so excited that I was so scared of this episode. And well, after a solid historical prominent story like Rosa, how about we get some crazy and scary fun? And honestly, this episode at some parts got it. Okay, let's get the bad stuff out of the way. So this episode is meant to be a sort of Halloween-esque sort of special, and featuring giant spiders, you're gonna get the sort of fear factor coming. Is that what we're gonna get? Nope. Well, this episode at points does have a fear factor going on. Okay, again, the main problem with this episode is a lot of problems with every single episode this series so far. I mean, at points the story is fine, but it clearly needed maybe one more rewrite, or again extend to 1 hour or 2 hour parts. Some points in the story were very predictable. For example, we have a family member who it turns out is working at the hotel. There happens to be spiders being mutated. Ryan uses loud music to attract the music. Come on, that was so clearly obvious. The moment they said we need loud vibration sounds to attract the spiders, I immediately knew he was going to use rock music or punk music, whatever it is, and oh, come on, there's other ways to attract other creatures. You don't need to use rock music. The Simpsons did it, and that was an animated comedy. This is not an animated comedy. And honestly, whilst some of the characters, in my opinion, I thought were okay, other characters have no purpose except either as red shirts, give out explanation, or just to be funny. For example, Frankie, the niece's wife, I think they says. I mean, there was nothing in this episode that indicated that Frankie was Jack Robertson's niece's wife. I mean, she could have been any other character. She could have easily have been the assistant, because there was no clear moment in the episode where Jack Robertson had any connection to Frankie as his niece's wife. And then there's the bodyguard Kevin, obviously another red shirt, but I'll get back to him later. Perfect example of a character who's just there to give out explanation, and that is the researcher, Jade McIntyre, played by Tanya Fia. Well, she does play a sort of companion-esque role. Her character is never developed a lot more, and the plot offers her to do little development except to give out explanation of the origins of the mutated spiders. The same could be said for Yasmin's family, seemingly only to annoy Yaz into joining the Doctor on board the TARDIS. But again, I'll get back to them later. And yeah, the spider's creepiness decreases in later scenes. I mean, okay, here's the thing. The one big problem I'm having with this episode, aside from its length, it has nothing to do with the episode itself. Because for the last couple of weeks, the BBC or Doctor Who websites have decided to release early reviews of the episode before it's even released. And because of that, the audience loses their expectations. You know, because people are not going to come in and think, oh my god, that was amazing, I didn't see it coming. They're just going to sit there and like, just sit down and go, okay, I remember someone mentioning this, so now I see it. This is happening now. I get what they're saying. Oh, that makes sense now. Stop giving us early reviews, okay? Just wait until the episode comes out. Please. And yeah, with the creep factor of the spiders, well, there are points when they are kind of creepy, but yeah, as the episode continues, the fear factor, the creepiness does sort of decrease in later scenes. I mean, here's the thing. If I was in charge of how to make the spiders creepy, here's what I would do. Make them practical. I mean, have you seen practical effects of giant spiders? 10 times more creepy than CGI spiders. I mean, Aragog from Harry Potter, yeah, you don't believe that's a real thing, but look at it! I mean, even in the Harry Potter studios, you know that's not real, but every time you see him and his children coming down, you get immediately scared. You get terrified. I mean, even that photo of that giant black puppet spider, which everyone has been sharing across Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, every side of social media. Every Doctor Who fan has been sharing that. You know, and I'm just looking and thinking to myself, oh, maybe this is going to be a creature we're going to see later on. And no, all the spiders look exactly the same. Which is why, point number 2, why not just use multiple types of breeds of spiders rather than have the exact same? And look, here's the thing. It's called Arachnids in the UK. And yet all we get are just the same breed of spiders in the exact same location. If we're meant to assume that there are other giant mutated spiders, I mean, Jack Robertson himself even said we've got multiple companies all across the UK, which I assume have giant mutated spiders around. I mean, we could have had like a news broadcast of all the spiders running around. I mean, you could have had like, you know, like the Black Widow spiders, the spiders we got in this episode. You could have had the furry arachnids. Just all types of spiders, and all of them done practical. That would have been amazing, especially for kids. I know. I keep mentioning this in every single episode, but it's the truth. Doctor Who needs to extend the length of their episodes, and honestly, this episode in particular, I think, needed to be either 1 hour long, or I'm considering it, a 2-parter episode. Think about it. You could have the first half of the episode be part 1, have it end when they come across the landfill area, and then you could have had part 2 when they find out exactly what's going on, which could possibly lead to other more character developments or more scenes with the spiders. Even and again, as I mentioned earlier, you can see other spiders from other parts of the UK. I mean, it is called Arachnids in the UK, even though it should have been called Arachnids in Sheffield, because that's pretty much what it is. A friend of mine in university, who is also a Doctor Who fan, mentioned that they definitely needed to be at least 1 hour, kind of like Sherlock, and the reason Sherlock worked was because they each felt like a movie. If you want this era of Doctor Who different and new, I think you should do it like Sherlock. I mean, the quality looks good. Movie quality, but it doesn't feel new. It still feels like what Doctor Who has felt like for the last couple of years. I think if you made this episode longer, or maybe a 2-parter, and look, movie quality, particularly for this episode, I mean, it's kind of a Halloween special. You could have made it longer, then you might have something good. But I get it. It's a kids show, and you wouldn't want them to watch for approximately 2 hours, wouldn't you? But if Sherlock managed to get kids to watch it for at least an hour or an hour and a half, then I don't see how you can't do the same for Doctor Who. Got that out of my system? Great. Now let's talk about the good. I like this episode. Okay, here's the thing. Yes, it has huge, massive problems. I have to be honest, the rest of the episode is really, really good. And to start off, we're going to talk about the one person which I think I've pretty much forgot to talk about in my last review. Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. Okay, now I've seen a couple of complainers and people saying, oh, Doctor Who is falling down and Jodie Whittaker is not a good Doctor. She's bringing the series down. No. Okay, if you're one of these people, shut up. You cannot blame the problems with Doctor Who. You cannot blame Jodie Whittaker on this. Because in my personal opinion, Jodie Whittaker is doing a good job, especially in this episode. It's just the writing of the episode doesn't really want her to shine. I mean, the last time, in my opinion, she shined as the Doctor is in The Woman Who Fell to Earth. And for some reason, the last couple of episodes, she did have her good moments, but there was nothing that made me think, oh, that's the Doctor. I want to follow this person. I mean, yeah, Ghost Monument kind of did that when she arrived at the TARDIS, but that was like the end of the episode. And last week's episode, there were tiny moments, but it was but that was mostly to do with, like, you know, the villains and all that. But no, this episode, Jodie Whittaker is really, really good. I mean, I love the scenes where she is hanging around in the living room at the Yaz's family's apartment. When I like how she is suddenly interested in Yaz's father's junk pile, and coming to believe that there is actually a conspiracy with the junk mail, you know, said by her father. That was pretty fun. Some of her comedy feels a little forced, like the whole I used to be a sister, or are you Ed Sheeran? But personally, it's when it's either straight or natural humor. You know, like when she says, "Should I go and check it out while you make your terrible precore?" Or when she is asked by Yaz's mum whether she and Yaz are seeing each other, and she's like, "We're not seeing each other, are we? No, we're just friends." That stuff is good. One of the things I sort of mentioned after rewatching the episode again is I liked how the mention of Yaz's family, which kind of foreshadows an important key thing in the plot, where the Doctor discovers that the spiders are not really alien spiders, or they're not enemies. They're just trying to get back home, or the part where the mother spider is trying to catch its breath. Living organisms that need to be treated with dignity. That part of the episode I actually quite liked. I actually quite liked that, you know, they're not trying to dominate the whole world or make it their own web planet. They're just natural creatures that just got caught in some sort of accident. And particularly when she is like talking with Jack Robertson's character throughout the episode, I think my favorite moment with those two together is when he's just basically explaining what's going on in the kitchen, and she just makes that face. That's what I like about Jodie's Doctor. Okay, you know, I said throughout the episodes where I keep thinking we're going to get at least a little bit more development with Yasmin throughout the entire series. This episode kind of does. It does sort of develop her as a character a little bit more, but it kind of still kind of brings her down a little bit because of time. But I will admit, Yaz's life is examined, not entirely, but I wished it was. But I did like seeing her with her family. Like, I like her dad, who was a little bit too happy when he expresses his surprise through his cooking. The sister, who is actually getting along nicely, particularly with Ryan, but is never talked too much. And I liked how Yaz's mum keeps asking whether Yaz is in a relationship with the Doctor, and later on she asks whether Yaz and Ryan are seeing each other, and she never gives a full answer. She just says, "No, we're just friends," which I guess some people would say it's a clearly potential reason for a closeted lesbian, but honestly, I'm actually glad they did not establish whether or not she's a lesbian or she is straight. They're just leaving it open for possibilities of choosing whether or not to be open for anyone, making it a positive form of representation. That is what I like with a good relationship. Ryan does have his good moments. I mean, the moments I liked with Ryan in particular is when he's basically when he's just talking with whoever's around. Like, I did like the little bit where his sister is just asking, how'd you know each other? And he said, "Oh, we're just mates." And she's just like, "Oh, just mates then, okay." And I just liked Ryan's look. you know what I mean. We all made that look when someone seems to have an interest in you. I didn't notice this until someone mentioned this on Twitter. There's a scene where the Doctor and the researcher are talking in the room, and someone on Twitter mentioned that Ryan was just making shadow puppets. I don't know why I didn't notice that when I was watching the episode, but that is kind of funny. And Graham can do no wrong. I mean, particularly in this episode where we see Graham return to Grace's home, and I especially liked how Grace's ghost, I think it was shot with no focus, therefore keeping her appearance as a ghost a mystery until later on in the episode where he turns around, and we see her in clear focus, and then the next shot she's just gone, which again foreshadows Graham's grief and how he wants to get away from grief, and which leads me to, I think, probably one of the one of the good scenes in this episode. Again, a lot of people always talk about the end scenes, and honestly, this one I think really, really works. It's when all the gang, after all they've done, after coming home, they start to question, are we happy being home, or do we want to continue traveling with the Doctor? And Graham and Ryan want to go traveling with the Doctor to move on from grief, and Yasmin just wants to see what she is made of. Graham came up with quite possibly the best reason to go traveling with the Doctor. His home is full of memories of grief, and he doesn't want to sit around at his home and just wait for it to go away. But if he decides to go traveling with the Doctor, just go out and do something, the grief will go away. That, in my opinion, is a very good lesson to teach kids, especially for some kids or some adults who have lost someone very important to them and are currently in full of grief. And the important lesson of grief is not to just sit around doing nothing and continue thinking about it, but to go out and do something, and in time, that grief will go away. That is a very good lesson to teach kids. And, okay, let's talk about our villain. Let's talk about Jack Robinson. I like the actor. In my opinion, I think Chris North portrays him as an over-the-top businessman craving to be a politician. And yeah, he's a walking Trump joke. But before he meets up with the team, he's actually kind of funny. He's actually kind of funny to watch. I mean, whether it's him firing his staff for particularly no reason, his sort of love for Kevin. Like, I like the bit where he literally just calls Kevin to fight this giant spider in the bathroom, and he just knocks on the door saying, "Kevin, did you kill it, Kevin?" And he opens the door and he's gone. He's like, "Oh my god, he's got my Kevin. I haven't got any Kevins." That is kind of funny. Or the weird way he washes his hands. I mean, I don't know what it is about that scene, but for some reason, just seeing him wash his hands almost like they were covered in germs actually kind of made me laugh for some reason. Chris North portrays a character we enjoy to hate watching, and from the looks of what happened at the end, I hope this is untrue, but it does seem like we haven't seen the last of him. And honestly, I hope he does come back, because I enjoyed watching him. Yeah, throughout the episode, he does get pretty annoying, and yeah, all the obvious politics are stupid, or the obvious there's Trump jokes throughout the entire episode. I get it. Even down to Graham saying, typical politician, never thinking about the question or wherever it was. Or even, and I'm not kidding, literally him saying, "This is going to get me to the White House." Look, I get it, but please, we have got to stop with the Trump referencing jokes. I mean, it's getting really annoying, and it's also getting very scary. More scary than the spiders. Which speaking of, I mean, I know I said that throughout the episode the spiders weren't really scary throughout the entire episode, but in my opinion, there were some scary moments with those spiders. Mostly when the spiders don't move. For example, when they had to trap one of the spiders and Graham's in the corridor, and we follow the spider walking down the corridor, and then when it stands in like a little spotlight, it just stops and it stands there. That was terrifying. That was so creepy. That was way more creepy than seeing all the giant CGI spiders we've seen throughout the episode. And yeah, the bit when they're like walking down the corridors, listen to that rock music playing. I have to admit, it was kind of cool to see spiders walking down the corridor with like rock music playing. And yeah, the climax is pretty anticlimactic, like what happened to the spiders in the panic room? Where do they go? How do they get rid of them? But yeah, the scenes with the spiders are pretty cool. I wish they could have used practical effects, and I wish they could have increased the fear factor a bit more. But for what we got, it was pretty cool. And speaking of cool moments, the opening of this episode is so freaking cool. From the opening shot, where the camera is at a ground level as we go across the meadow, along the floor, down the corridors, up to the first scene, almost like a point of view of a spider, already on board. And oh my god, that visual long shot of the TARDIS flying into the vortex, and oh my god, that is one amazing shot. And I love the look of the Vortex. It's all purple and dark with lights shining across, almost like they're like stars or planets. Almost kind of reminded me of that multiverse montage from Doctor Strange. I noticed when the TARDIS just goes up into this giant chasm filled with all these holes or tunnels, which got me thinking those are doorways to other dimensions or alternative universes or alternate futures. That's a clever idea. That's something I don't think we've seen in Doctor Who before. Oh boy. So there we go. After all of that, here's my conclusion. This was an easy review to make, in my opinion, because I could easily see the good and the bad stuff whilst watching this episode. Yes, this episode does have major problems, some of which I'm not going to mention again because I've said this so many times. But amongst all its problems, it does have some very good, funny, laughable, enjoyable moments. The characters are pretty good, the acting is strong, some of the effects needed improvement, and some of the storytelling needed some work or adjustments, but yeah, even though this is a underwhelming episode, I still had fun watching it. I mean, come on, after watching last week's Rosa episode, you know we're not going to get anything as good as that. But hey, at least I had more fun watching this than I did the Ghost Momentum. So yeah, after all of that, I'm going to give this episode 6 out of 10. Be sure to leave a comment, like and share this video, and if you have seen the episode, what did you think about it? And if you'd like to see more of my videos, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.